In the front yard, Katherine parked by the curb and began taking photos with her smartphone. Tiny cracks in the exterior walls, unnatural repair marks in the foundation, parts that looked aged mixed with supposedly new construction. Arriving at the bank, Katherine immediately opened her computer. She searched the Lake Forest real estate database, 10 years of transaction history, building permit applications, property tax records. The bank system provided her with extensive information. Katherine couldn't believe what was displayed on her monitor. Her sister's house had been built 10 years ago. The original contractor had gone bankrupt, and after several owner changes, it had come into Blue Ridge Real Estate's possession. Katherine, early as usual. Her colleague Jennifer approached with coffee in hand. Yes, there's a case I'm concerned about. Being a perfectionist again? But you know how many people your cautiousness has saved. Jennifer smiled and left. Katherine turned back to her monitor, examining Blue Ridge Real Estate's transaction history in detail. A pattern emerged. Their properties were consistently priced about 40% above market value, yet sales were completed in short periods. After the sales, many properties reported serious problems. Tom, do you have a moment? During lunch break, Katherine called an old friend who worked at a construction company, a trusted expert she'd known since college. I'd like you to look at a property, unofficially. Got it. I'm free at 3 p.m. today. Arriving at the site, Tom immediately noticed problems. This is typical of shoddy construction, he said, his professional eye unforgiving. Insufficient attic ventilation, insulation below required levels. This wall tilt is concerning. Tom kept pointing out issues. Most serious is the foundation, no signs of proper soil testing. This area has abundant groundwater, which will eventually cause major problems. The inspection report also suggested falsification of earthquake resistance standards. Some building materials might even contain harmful substances already banned from use. Katherine, I'll be honest, this is dangerous. This case needs immediate attention. Tom's expression was serious. On her way home, Katherine stopped by her parents' house, a quiet residential area in Evanston. Though modest and built 40 years ago, her parents had lived happily there. Her mother opened the door. Katherine, we need to talk. In the living room, Katherine spread out the evidence she'd gathered, photos, blueprints, inspection reports. Everything indicated the house's dangers. Look at this. The foundation strength is insufficient. There are problems with earthquake resistance. We also found termite damage. Her mother silently stared at the documents. The mortgage payments are likely to become unsustainable. The monthly payments will exceed Dad's pension. Shut up, her mother suddenly screamed. You're just jealous. You can't stand Ashley's happiness. No, Mom, I'm worried about. Get out. Her mother grabbed the evidence documents and began tearing them up. Photos and papers flew through the air. Her father sat silently. No trace remained of the once meticulous site supervisor. That night, Katherine went to church alone. The silence of St. Michael's Church enveloped her. Sunset through the stained glass cast beautiful light on the altar. God, am I doing the right thing? She whispered, kneeling in prayer. She didn't want to hurt her family, but she couldn't ignore the danger either. Katherine? Turning around, she saw Elizabeth, an elderly woman she'd helped with financial counseling. You seem troubled, dear. Yes, about family matters. Do what you believe is right, but don't harbor hatred. Elizabeth's words sank into Katherine's heart. Leaving the church, she had made her decision. She began writing a report to the building inspection department. She scanned all evidence documents and saved them digitally. She also consulted a lawyer in preparation for the worst. Back in her apartment, Katherine stood by the window, gazing at nighttime Chicago. High-rise building lights twinkled like stars. Somewhere, her sister's house lights were probably shining like that too. I'm sorry, Ashley, she whispered. Her words echoed in the quiet room. Chicago's January was colder than usual. Late one night, Katherine was awakened by the sound of a heavy thunderstorm, winter thunder. It seemed like a harbinger of the disaster to come. Then her phone rang. Please help, her sister was screaming on the other end. Panicked voices mixed in the background. Ashley, calm down. What happened? The ceiling. the ceiling collapsed. Katherine instantly grabbed her winter coat and car keys. No time to wait for the elevator, she ran down the emergency stairs. On the drive to Lake Forest, the midnight highway was deserted, but rain and snow mixed with wind obscured visibility. Even with wipers at full speed, it was hard to see ahead. The speedometer showed 60 miles per hour. Arriving at the scene, fire truck sirens were already wailing. Residents in pajamas stood shivering in front of the mansion. Firefighters examined the house with flashlights. Katherine, her mother, ran up. Her bare face showed deep anxiety. "Mom, is everyone safe?" "Yes, but the ceiling of the mansion's second floor has largely collapsed. Rainwater is flowing inside. Expensive furniture and antiques are soaked. The proud chandelier lies smashed on the floor, crystal fragments scattered everywhere." "Please, I want to go home." Ashley clung to their mother, crying. No trace remained of the perfect Instagrammer. "This building has serious structural problems," the fire chief announced with a stern expression. "Tonight's rain apparently triggered latent defects in the attic. This building is no longer habitable." As dawn broke, events moved rapidly. Building inspectors arrived one after another, already alerted by Katherine's report. They had been watching this property. With this accident, the investigation intensified. Expert assessments were relentless. Her father stood dumbfounded. His years as a construction site supervisor made him painfully aware he had been deceived. This building's value, the real estate appraiser began calculating on his tablet, would normally be around $700,000. Moreover, in this condition, selling is practically impossible. Her parents had paid $1.5 million for a house worth less than half that, and now not even livable. "Where's Michael?" Ashley's voice suddenly turned anxious. Her husband was nowhere to be seen. His cell phone wasn't connecting, and his company couldn't be reached. Around noon, police called. Suspect Michael Miller of Blue Ridge Real Estate has been detained at O'Hare International Airport, arrested while attempting to flee to South America. His suitcase was packed with cash. Subsequent investigation revealed the truth. Organized fraud by Blue Ridge Real Estate, buying deteriorated properties, making superficial renovations, and selling at more than double market value, falsifying earthquake resistance standards, using harmful materials, shoddy construction. Everything was meant to maximize profits. Katherine's family weren't the only victims. Similar cases of fraud were discovered throughout Chicago's suburbs. Michael had been a key figure in the scheme. 7 years in prison. The court's verdict came 3 months later. All of Michael's assets were seized and would be used for victim compensation. That day, Ashley deleted all her social media accounts. She left a final message to her 100,000 followers. "All my posts were just a facade. I finally understand what true happiness is. Goodbye." She returned to her parents' home and began treatment for depression. Counseling revealed that behind her glamorous posts, she too had been suffering from her husband's lies. "How foolish we were." Her mother's voice was tired. The dream of living in a luxury neighborhood had crumbled. What remained was the weight of enormous debt. Their retirement funds were completely lost. The Evanston house would have to be sold to repay the mortgage. Their home of 40 years, they could never return there either. A week after the eviction notice, they began moving belongings out of the Lake Forest mansion. Luxury furniture was mostly ruined by water damage and mold. The proud wine cellar was destroyed by leaks. Moving trucks carried away the belongings one after another. Ashley just watched silently. No trace remained of her former glamorous self. At dusk, the last vehicle departed. The mansion stood silent like a ghost town. Yellow tape declared it off limits. Katherine watched her family from her car. Her parents, who had ignored her warnings, spoiled her sister, and turned away from truth. Her sister, who had been trapped by vanity and pretense, drowning in a fake social media life, and her brother-in-law, who had deceived everyone. But now, there was no hatred in her heart, only deep sadness and quiet hope for future renewal remained. "Let's go home." Katherine started the car. The mansion in the rearview mirror gradually grew smaller. Spring came slowly to Chicago. On the 35th floor of the Gold Coast high-rise, Katherine arranged her mother's cherished dishes on her newly purchased dining table. "Is this all right?" White lilies in a vase were beautiful in the sunset light. Tonight was special. She was hosting her parents and sister in her new home. The doorbell rang. Opening the door, she found her aged parents. Her father's hair had grown much whiter over these 6 months. Deep fatigue remained in her mother's eyes. Her mother tearfully embraced her daughter. "Mom, Dad, welcome." Led to the living room. Her parents gazed at the view overlooking Lake Michigan. The 35th floor sunset showed a different face every day. "This view is lovely." "Yes," Katherine smiled. "It shows me a different expression each day." Ashley came next. No trace remained of the former Instagrammer, just an ordinary 28-year-old woman in a simple dress. "Big sister." Ashley struggled for words. Katherine smiled gently. "Want to help in the kitchen?" They began preparing dinner together, mother's home cooking recipes. Ashley quietly made salad while Katherine finished the roast chicken. "Remember when we were kids? We used to bake cakes together." "Yes, I always cracked the eggs. And you beat them." Conversation between the sisters began to flow naturally. Dishes were arranged on the table, and the family sat down. Father poured wine. Mother distributed bread. "Katherine." Father began speaking, his voice trembling. "We need to apologize." Mother continued softly. "We're sorry for ignoring your warnings, trapped by vanity and pretense. We lost sight of what's important." "Big sister." Tears fell from Ashley's eyes. "I've been reflecting on my life. I measured my worth by social media likes. I thought followers determined my value." Katherine listened silently. "But that night when the house collapsed, you were the first to come running, not my 100,000 followers." Spring breeze stirred the lace curtains. "Everyone, please listen," Katherine began, speaking slowly. "This apartment might be a bit small, but would you like to live here together for a while?" Her parents and Ashley showed surprised expressions. "But Katherine, your lifestyle." "It's okay. I've been thinking a lot about what true luxury means." Outside the window, the sun was setting over Lake Michigan. "It's not money, not a mansion, not an Instagram-worthy life. Having family together, that's true luxury." Quiet tears rolled down Mother's cheeks. "I can handle this apartment's mortgage alone. Don't worry about rent or maintenance fees. Use Dad's pension for your living expenses." Father nodded deeply. "Ashley can stay here until she gets settled. Take time to think about your new life." Her sister embraced her with trembling hands. "But just one promise," Katherine continued gently. "Let's cook together on weekends. I want to pass Mom's recipes on to the next generation." Family smiles spread through the twilight room. On the table, steam rose from Mother's homemade casserole. Father slowly sipped wine, and Ashley served salad. Just a simple family meal with no decorations, but it was the true happiness everyone had been seeking. Late that night, Katherine stood on her balcony. Chicago's night view twinkled like stars. The luxury mansion was nowhere to be seen. But here, in this small place, a new family story was about to begin. Spring breeze gently caressed her hair. Lake Michigan's waves could be faintly heard. Tomorrow was Sunday. The aroma of Mother's pancakes would surely fill this home. Katherine quietly looked up at the sky. The stars seemed to be watching over their coming days with gentle care. Katherine Anderson sat at her window-side desk on the 35th floor of First Chicago Bank, reviewing a thick stack of mortgage applications. The muted hum of printers and clicking keyboards filled the open-plan office. Outside, the late autumn sky stretched gray over Lake Michigan, its waters glittering faintly through the glass. 10 years in the mortgage department had trained her eyes to detect irregularities at a glance, numbers that didn't align, signatures that didn't match, promises that were too good to be true. She adjusted her glasses and frowned. Something about the Lake Forest property file she was reading didn't feel right. "Working late again?" her colleague Jennifer asked, stopping by her desk with 2 steaming cups of coffee. "Yes," Katherine replied without looking up. "There's something about this case that concerns me." Jennifer chuckled. "You and your instincts. But you know, that cautiousness has saved more clients than you can count." Katherine smiled faintly as Jennifer walked away. Her precision was her pride. Ever since she graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in economics, she'd built her career on diligence and integrity, qualities her clients and coworkers depended on. That evening, the familiar stillness of her Gold Coast apartment greeted her. The city lights glowed softly beyond the wide balcony windows, where her potted succulents leaned toward the night. Since her divorce 3 years ago, the apartment had become her quiet fortress. Her ex-husband's reckless spending and lies about finances had left her scarred, but also resolute. She now spent weekends volunteering at St. Michael's Church, offering free financial counseling to retired seniors. Stability and purpose had replaced the chaos of her former marriage. On Sunday morning, she ran into her father, Robert, at the same church. He looked thinner, his shoulders more stooped than she remembered. For 40 years, he had worked as a construction site supervisor, disciplined, meticulous, and proud of his craft, but retirement had softened him. "How are you, Dad?" she asked gently. "Well," he smiled, "I finally got my retirement money, planning to take it easy for a change." The words unsettled her. "You deserve the rest," she said softly, though unease lingered in her chest. Her father had always dreamed of building a home for the family, one that would stand as his legacy. Yet, as he aged, that dream had turned into something else, a hunger for validation. The following Wednesday, her mother, Helen, called. "Katherine, come over for brunch this Sunday. Ashley will be here too." Katherine sighed. "I'd love to, but work's overwhelming this week." "You always say that," her mother replied, her voice carrying a faint reproach. "Ashley never misses a Sunday. She's even planning a potluck party." Ashley, her sister, the family's golden child. Once a cheerful high school cheerleader, Ashley had reinvented herself as a lifestyle influencer. Her 100,000 Instagram followers adored her perfect life, designer handbags, sponsored luxury furniture, elegant brunches by the window. Her posts were glossy and curated, always filtered in soft light. To their parents, she represented success, glamour, and happiness. Katherine, on the other hand, was the quiet one, responsible, steady, practical, qualities that didn't sparkle on social media. While she managed financial crises for clients, her parents fawned over Ashley's brand deals and viral cooking reels. "Hey, look at this," Jennifer had said last week, showing her a photo on social media. Ashley was posing with a new luxury handbag, captioned, "A little surprise from my amazing husband." Her husband, Michael Miller, worked as a sales manager at Blue Ridge Real Estate, a fast-growing property development company. He had joined 2 years ago and climbed the ranks with suspicious speed. Katherine had met him at family gatherings, a polished man with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. She couldn't shake the feeling that his charm masked something darker. That suspicion deepened after she overheard her parents gushing about a special deal Michael had offered them, a newly built mansion in Lake Forest. The price, $1.5 million. The down payment, her father's entire $300,000 retirement fund. "Dad," she'd said over dinner, her voice calm but firm, "maybe you should look at the numbers again. Lake Forest homes like that usually go for under $1 million. But her father only smiled. "Michael's given us a great deal, sweetheart. He even handled the paperwork. It's our chance to finally live in a place worthy of the Anderson name." Her warnings went unheard. Her parents had already been swept up by Ashley and Michael's dream of grand staircases, marble floors, and champagne brunches. Friday night arrived cold and quiet. From her apartment's glass balcony, Katherine watched the Chicago skyline shimmer under November's dusk. She poured herself a glass of red wine and turned on soft jazz. The city felt peaceful, but her thoughts weren't. Her phone buzzed, a notification, "Ashley Anderson is live." She hesitated, then tapped the screen. The video opened to a glittering mansion. "Everyone, finally, my dream home," Ashley's voice chirped through the speakers. The camera panned across a lavish interior, a marble foyer, crystal chandeliers, ornate furniture, and golden light streaming through silk curtains. In the background, guests laughed and toasted champagne. "Our parents gifted this to us as a housewarming present." Ashley beamed at the camera, her diamond earrings catching the light. Katherine froze. "A gift?" The phone screen showed her father laughing with relatives, her mother admiring the furniture. Every corner of the house screamed excess, imported marble, Italian fixtures, and what appeared to be antique French decor. It wasn't just luxury, it was recklessness. Then came Michael's voice. "This beauty? Worth nearly $2 million, but we got it for a special price. Katherine set down her wine glass. Her banker's instinct was screaming. Something was deeply off. She called her mother. The sound of music and laughter filled the background. "We're in the middle of the party," Helen said curtly. "Mom, listen, about that house. Only real family deserves to receive a home," came the cutting reply. Katherine's throat tightened. "What do you mean, real family?" Before she could ask further, another voice chimed in, Ashley's. "Curious about our new house, big sister? But modest people like you wouldn't fit here." A laugh echoed faintly in the background. "This is happiness, our family's happiness. You wouldn't understand." The call ended abruptly. For a long moment, Katherine sat in silence. The city lights outside blurred as her eyes filled with tears. It wasn't just jealousy, it was grief. The distance between her and her family had turned into a chasm. But as the night deepened, grief turned to determination. She opened her laptop and began searching Lake Forest's real estate database, property histories, permit filings, transaction records, everything she could find. She knew where to look. She knew how to read between the lines. Within minutes, inconsistencies appeared, mismatched contractor names, missing inspection certificates, and an unusually fast approval process. Her pulse quickened. The next morning, before dawn, she drove to Lake Forest. The streets were deserted, trees swaying in the sharp October wind. The mansion stood ahead, its stone walls gleaming faintly under the street lamps. But up close, something was wrong. Cracks spidered along the side walls. The foundation looked uneven, with patches of mismatched cement. Some windows were slightly misaligned. Katherine began taking photos, her breath visible in the cold air. She examined every inch of the property, small details that ordinary eyes would miss. By the time she returned to her car, she knew the truth. This wasn't a dream home. It was a fraud waiting to collapse, literally. That night, as she uploaded the photos onto her computer and cross-checked them with Blue Ridge Real Estate's other listings, a chilling pattern emerged. Dozens of houses, identical histories, inflated prices, falsified records. Michael's name appeared again and again. Katherine's hands trembled. She realized she wasn't just looking at her family's mistake. She was uncovering a criminal scheme.